Let's reset for the week here with the
Let go. Asteroid of fear.
Welcome to another episode of the Men of the House podcast, and it is the Men's Monday mindset. We're going to reset for the week. So, since I have no guest, we're going to do a little solo reset. I hope you guys can hear me okay, as it's 3:08 a.m. I got in late from Ubering and did not record, considered not releasing, and then I woke up about an hour ago after not much sleep and decided, what the hell? Let's do a little Men's Monday mindset. Today we're going to go over, I'm also using a different setup. As you may notice, I'm not speaking into my mic. I'm wired into my laptop instead and using a little mobile stand. It's a little closer to me. So for all you viewers, you're not seeing the full me. You're just seeing kind of the immediate background. But who cares about that unless you're watching? Or unless you care about that kind of stuff. I've been into watching video podcasts lately. And so, yeah, be it the the angle, the lighting, all of it. I check it all out. So, what do I want to talk about today? For this Monday reset, and it's the beginning of the it's the beginning of the month, also known as No Shave November. For all you men out there. But we are going to talk about checking your foundation. Talk a little bit about revisiting values, goals, faith as the week begins. I think that's a perfect place to start. Sorry for the camera shaking. I'm set up here on a little mobile stand instead of my big stand. So you guys will have to tolerate the technical difficulties. My apologies. And I'm a little stuffy. Weather's done gone fucking bonkers here in Texas, and you know, 40-degree temperature changes and whatever the air's blown in. Normally November to February in Austin, Central Texas is more like cedar fever. And I would always have to like up my meds during that time to keep me from getting pneumonia. I know we have some cedar here in East Texas. It's just not as prevalent or as bad as it is in Central Texas, 100%. So I've been thinking a lot about this lately, kind of. Um, you know, Foundation, goals, values, faith. Um, wow. I almost think it should be reversed. Faith, values, then goals. I know when I'm looking at my foundation, that's a bit of the order. and I've been giving it a lot of thought lately, relying and leaning on my foundation to ensure this is what I'm supposed to be doing. For so long it was weird, like not figuring out why I was angry all the time. And now that I figured that out and feel like I've kind of been processing that, um, that's what led me to the venture of No One Should Die Alone. I mean, it started last year with Buck, but then as I kept on, whether it's coaching or um, doubling down on a men's group, um, community. Mhm. But yeah, I often had to ask myself many times, like, God, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? But then I can remember like standing in the shower, listening to that interview, and it's like, aha, nobody should die alone. The same kind of response, reaction I got when the question was posed, did I want to take care of Buck and be a part of that? Um, guess the answer is kind of a hell yeah. They say if it's not hell yeah, then it's fuck no. Um, well, yeah, taking care of a buck was a hell yeah. Not gonna let him go without. That's not me. Um, but there's still like trepidation, hesitation, fear. It's easy to say let go and let God. I try to say it all the time. It doesn't always quench whatever whatever that little feeling is, that little spot of what God's telling you to do. But you're like, how? How am I supposed to do this? How's it going to make money? How are people on fixed income going to afford a check-in unless I get people with good income to offset that? The same way that young, healthy people who pay health insurance premiums um, offsets the care that the older people require as you age. Their insurance premiums pay the cost. The insurance companies need to pay back to the medical facilities for the older people. So therefore, just like if you haven't gone back and listened to the Jake Strain interview, where he talked about when it comes to rehabilitation, like the government, maybe somebody under um, Medicaid or something would give you 100 and something dollars a day, and maybe an insurance company, a private pay would give $3,000 a day. So that money goes back into investing and taking care of the less fortunate. So I'm going to have to run with a model of something like that because the people I want to care for or who may need my service might be older and on a fixed income. And I sure as hell don't want them excluded on the basis of income. But in trying to offer a service and or business, um, I have to make some sort of a living. Now, I'm fortunate that I live on land that's paid for and a house that's paid for and drive cars that are paid for. So I don't need a lot. Um, but I still have basic needs and whatnot. So yeah, it's it's hard because I've been having this, I don't know, like, um, what's the best way to explain? I kind of got it going. I got people that I help out, and you know, it's not as robust as it needs to be. Um, but let's say I'll come across like ads like UT Arlington's offering, their nurse practitioner program, which me having a master's, I could easily go into something like that. It'd be easy to like plug back in, retake A&P, whatever's more than 5 years old, get accepted into one of these programs, do 15, 18 months, with some clinicals, and I'd be a nurse practitioner. And they had one for geriatrics. I love old people. I think I made a post yesterday where um, I delivered this lady's prescriptions, and when I hit delivered, I guess Uber alerted her by calling her, and she called me saying, "Oh, I received a call from this number." I'm like, "I don't think so." Like, because I was like still pulling out of her driveway. I was like, "I don't think I accidentally hit it. I would remember." And I go, "Oh no, but this is your Uber driver." I go, I just wanted to let you know that I guess if I did call you, maybe it's alerting you that I dropped off your packages." She's like, "Oh, honey, are in the garage?" I go, "No, I left them by the front door on the chair where you asked." And she's like, "Okay, thank you." But just that little interaction, her sounding excited to talk to somebody, whether it made her feel important, I don't know. I don't know what it is, but it lit me up, put a smile to my face. And I had a lot of good deliveries yesterday. Had a really cool conversation with a guy. He built his son like a little chopper. I've been looking at Harleys lately, and he had a Harley in his garage and like this mini chopper. And uh, maybe he's seen me like checking it out, and he came out through the garage, and we started up a little chat. And um, pretty cool dude. But it was that connection. Um, be it with the older lady that lasted a minute phone call or less, or maybe a 10-minute conversation with the guy in the garage about Harleys and riding bikes. And, he's 51. I'm approaching 50. We both talk about, feeling the freedom, the wind in your hair, and a little need for speed, but, you know, we're not out here trying to separate ourselves from our families by killing ourselves by being stupid. We both agreed on that. But when it's your time to go, it's your time to go, of course, like you said. But yeah, it's the connection. We started off this conversation with talking about foundation, and I'm coming to see that foundation is that connection. I actually got some little message here. Little 3 a.m. sesh. Tell my boy Evan here. Said he was about to take a nap, but he drives trucks overnights. So I like to, if I can drop an episode for him to have something to hear on his rides, then I like to. But yeah, talking about foundations, connection. God made man and woman. I mean, for reproduction, but also for connection. Man should not be alone. I feel like that's in the Bible somewhere, especially men. I always say if it weren't for my wife and my daughter, I'd probably be dead or incarcerated. Um, there's a chance that because of one of those two, I will end up dead or incarcerated if anybody fucks with them. So, yeah, um, the outcome's the same. No, but seriously, there's no telling the bullshit I would have gotten myself into over the past 20 years without them. But, as an only child, it's easy for me to isolate. Here I am at 3:30 in the morning. The whole house is asleep, and this is where I'm most comfortable. They say 3:30. This is the God hour where the vibrations and frequencies are true. That's why Wes Watson likes to wake up at 3:30 or 2:30 or whatever. No, I'm not promoting that Wes Watson. Please don't associate me with him. I've just been around the internet and seen his videos. If you haven't seen them, go check them out. They're kind of interesting. Some of his message is actually good, but his delivery can be a little off-putting for most. Um, and we'll talk about that as I continue on. So yeah, values, connections. Um, I don't know if I've always felt like, we're put here to serve others. At least I am. I know I'm put here to serve others. And I think it's through, I don't know if I was having a conversation with somebody. Oh yeah, it was like a post-book club, and somebody was explaining to me, like, kind of clarifying to me that eh, how, um, oh man, what was it? I thought I wanted one thing, or I thought maybe things were about offering perspective and changing the world, you know, through perspective, but that first comes through connection. So I think connectivity became a really big, she helped kind of clarify that maybe that's what I really want. It's the connectivity. Because without the connectivity, you can never offer someone a different perspective. And also showing people that they're not alone and that others have made it through there, and like I said, I have my accountability group, um, if it'll even be called that anymore, men's group, whatever you want to call it, but it is a place for men that show up daily. It's through WhatsApp. Also have one on Facebook. I need to zhuzh, jazz that one up a little bit. Need to put more efforts into that one to grow it. I recently just removed um, the few female counterparts that were in there so I can make it a strictly male group. So no shade if I removed you. You know who you are. Um, but yes, I need to double down on adding more there. Connectivity. So yeah, kind of where was I going with this? So with the trepidation and the fear of saying like, oh, let go and let God, how am I supposed to do this? Values, faith. When I thought about, I was talking earlier about like, in 2 years, I could be plugged in as a nurse practitioner somewhere, um, serving geriatrics as a provider, helping care for them, probably making a decent amount of coin doing it. But I also, for you guys who don't know, I don't know if I mentioned it in Unfiltered Friday, but my dad was in the hospital for a week. So I was at the hospital every day. And, hmm, I don't know. I feel spoiled. I feel like, um, in many things, I've just had the opportunity to be around some real pipe hitters, some real good leaders as nurses, some real, good emergency room doctors, trauma surgeons, um, even the team I managed at Lake Palestine, you know, top of the line. And then when you go and you see like a decline, is it the system? I know COVID fucked up a lot of shit. They decided, oh, well, we gotta lay off these people. And, I know with probably some hospitals, like, magnet was a big thing for a while. Like, if you wanted to be a magnet hospital, like all your people had to have like bachelors, they couldn't have associates of nursings. And so that was a big push for some people. They would always like, tell nurses like, okay, like we're aiming to be a magnet hospital, so we'll hire you on the condition that within the next X amount of years you plan to do one of the bridge programs, ADN to RN. So associate degree of nursing to registered nurse, um, which you can still be a registered nurse with a 2 year, with an ADN, but with a bachelor's of nursing, I guess you could say. That's what it was. So, but once organizations decide they don't want to do that anymore, then it's like, hey, we can put LVNs on the floor, um, which from the clinic world, we run mostly LVNs. And then I had a registered nurse as my lead nurse, just because they have a little more, um, they can do a little bit more, according to their credentials. So it makes sense for a supervisory position. And I'm really glad I fought to get that. Um, Super proud and happy of the lead nurse I married, hired. What was I thinking? Um, no, I remember interviewing her. I didn't know that I was necessarily going to hire her, and I don't know what it was about her. She'd been a teacher. She worked in the hospital. It just didn't suit her, the 312s and being a mother and all that. It was for a schedule thing, was going to be way better for her. I hired her and she's still there. Yeah, still crushing it. Yeah, super proud of her and happy that I could do that for her. Where was I going with that? Oh, yeah, week in the hospital. Things just seem different. I don't know what it is about healthcare these days. The people. I don't know if it's this thing of like, people are like, well, you can be a travel nurse, you can make good money, so I'm gonna do it. But man, you know, I remember leaving one night and speaking to a nurse who'd been a floor nurse for a long time, and she was considering going back to hospice because she just wasn't happy. Well, she was a boomer, and she's like, I don't know. Just, I guess if things have changed and seeing maybe it's the people she worked with, she's like, they don't want to do much. There's a generation of people she sees in the hospital that are young and should be healthy, but been eating Cheetos and playing video games, um, stuff like that. And, maybe she was referring to the help, to the workforce, to because working in a hospital and or clinic, it's very much like that. And when she was working in hospice, it's a little bit different in that you kind of you're relying less on those people doing it more yourself, but also kind of more of a one-on-one, maybe connection with the person near the end. I don't know. I didn't get exactly what she was displeased about, but there was a general displeased disposition with working in the hospital, working in healthcare. Because I told her, I used to be a manager and decided not to go back for some of the reasons we're just talking about. But, I'm not, since COVID, you know, one, fucked up everybody's trust with the government. Two, I think it fucked over healthcare people in a lot of ways. Two, a view of the system. I mean, people already didn't have a great view of healthcare, I don't think. Otherwise, they wouldn't be coming up with things like Ate It and the Studer method and um, patient satisfaction and compliance, or satisfaction to try to get compliance, um, in order to save money or put more money in their pockets, however you want to look at it. But either way, I don't think the view of American healthcare system was great before COVID, and I don't think COVID did it any favors. So, you know, I mean, yeah, taking Buck to some of his appointments. I mentioned that during the Caregiving Chronicles, what that was like, just like within healthcare, there seems to be like this general apathy, I guess you could say, where people aren't, just doesn't seem the same. I don't know what that word is. Let me look. Let me hit the old Google machine over here. I think I'm looking this word altruistic, maybe. Yeah. I just feel like it's not as al altruistic, which is regardful of others, beneficent, uns unselfish, opposed to egotistic or self. So, yeah, I feel like healthcare has gotten a little less altruistic and maybe a little more selfish. But I don't know where where the kinks are. Probably in the fact that it has to be a business, has to make money. Means you got a bunch of bean counters up here, and they're the ones dictating of what needs to happen down here in order to keep the whole show on the road. Because no money, no mission. So I don't know if it's that or what it is. But, when I walked out of the room and she told me, well, we have two techs for 54 patients, I can tell you that's not a whole lot. She's like, so if you got to use the bathroom, it's going to be a minute, because I'd help my dad out of the bed. It set off the bed alarm. But, when it comes to some of these things, what are the, what are, whoa, huh, there we go. Camera had a little malfunction because I dropped something. Um, yeah, like she was telling me, 54 patients, two techs, set off the bed alarm or shit on yourself. What are the options? Then, of course, they're not going to be happy when they have to clean up a shitty bed either. So, yeah, not 100% pleased with the service and or care. I mean, they missed giving him his medicine. Um, he noticed like, oh, where's my blue pill? Not talking about a boner pill either. You need to be 72 years old sitting in the hospital bed with a boner all day. So, He was talking about a blood pressure medication that they weren't giving him. And I had to show them on the list. Hey, but ironically enough, the list was a printed out list from them, from their PCP. He sees doctors within that same system. They use the same electronic medical records. The printouts look the same. So the information was in there. There was no reason for them to miss it other than on purpose or they're lazy. Because once they got the nausea and vomiting under control and could start raising his seizure medicine Depakote levels, um, his blood pressure being high was the last limiting factor. So, yeah, I don't know how I feel about all that. But once they started that, after a couple of days, he was gone. Because I don't know if I had this discussion. I don't remember who it was with, but you know, it was something to the tune of, did they do it on purpose so they could keep them there 2 extra days, make extra days worth of money, or are they just ignorant, can't read, don't pay attention? Maybe they're overwhelmed, apathetic. They're just another patient. It's not their parent. It's not somebody they care about or love, so what does it matter? But that's the general feeling I get out there. What I see, what I feel, like the feeling of if I were these people's manager, some of the shit that happens would never fly. Unless, of course, it was made to let fly because that's just the way it is. That's the way administration makes it. Um, but, whether they're having trouble attracting people, getting people, I mean, I don't know, the medical business kind of reminds me of what it was like working in restaurants is you can walk across the street, you can leave one and the next day be somewhere else. It's a little bit like how nursing is. So if they don't like it, they just go to the next place till they find what's the best fit for them. But a lot of people go into nursing for it's money, it's supposed to be a good job, and forget about all the stuff that goes along with it, I guess. Um, it's hard. I mean, being on the floor when people are hitting call lights all the time, people need something all the time. I could hear, whether I'm out trying to get a cup of coffee, um, walking somewhere, asking someone something, I could hear other patients yelling, "Hey, someone, anyone," because nobody would answer the call light. But of course, I don't know how many actual rooms were on that floor, how many nurses, how many, each patient, each nurse might get 5 patients, they may get 2 patients. Um, but yeah, somebody like my dad who you got an IV drip, you got um, IV Depakote, you got meds 3 times a day, multiply that over a couple of people, and it can be a lot of work for a single person. which is why they have techs to help. But then if you have no help, if you're one tech and five nurses, maybe, I mean, figure if they had over 50 patients, just breaking it down of going, if each nurse had five patients, that's five nurses. That'd be one tech for five nurses, which mm, we would run maybe one to three in the ER. So I don't know. But what I got from all that was I just, I don't think I could go back into that system. It would be, I have this idea of something I want to start, nobody to die alone. Um, Making contact, spending time, not time in the hospital, but actual time with people. Um, who are at that stage, or even if they're sick at home. But I would go there and spend a couple hours with my dad, and yeah, part of me was like, oh, I could easily go into something like being a nurse practitioner and be plugged right back into the system. And then I could go visit people, volunteer my time. And then there's a part of me that realistically goes, well, you'd probably be so burnt out that you wouldn't want to volunteer your time. You'd probably be too tired, or you need to be spending it with family. Because kind of the way things work now and what we have, it's a bit of like a family business. I mean, one of the gentlemen that I help, my wife also helps. That's how we got introduced was him, you know, she cleans for him every 2 weeks. And while she's got other stuff going on, I'm the one who takes him to his appointments or takes him grocery shopping. So, yeah, I think about it more from that human aspect. Like I've always said, that medical part is so transactional. They come in, do your things, give you your meds, ask you some questions, and then move on to the next patient. You know, it's like I have to tell my dad sometimes, I'm like, everybody comes in here, has got a little bit of a different role. They're interested in doing their little part, asking you their little checklist, and moving on. They're not interested in the whole story. They're not going to convey your feelings to someone else. They're not going to advocate on behalf of you. Let's say that you need this because they're there for their little piece and their little piece only. And they're running off of a script. So when you start giving them too much, um, like I'm not trying to be unkind. I'm just trying to tell you how it is. because you're giving them all this explanation of things, but I can tell you only bits and pieces will be addressed because they're only here to address that. Um, it's a little bit the way that I know Buck would have it, and my dad has it too. I remember him making a call one day, and he's talking to an automated system but doesn't know it. And they keep asking questions, and it's like you're getting frustrated because you don't realize this is how it works. You got to be patient. I get fucking irate when it comes to those automated bullshit things like, no, just fucking give me the operator. All of it. Like, being at a gas station, you're trying to get gas. Do you want a car wash? No. Do you want to fucking round up to donate to this? No. No, no, no. I came here for gas. I want fucking gas. I want a car wash. I'll go to the car wash. Quit asking me fucking questions. But it gets a little bit like that. Um, but yeah, spending a week in that environment was, I don't know how I could do it. I don't know how I'm going to do what I'm doing other than letting go and letting God. I know it's a noble cause. There's plenty of people out there wanting to participate in the medical part, but I feel like all along they forget that there's a human part under there that needs to be addressed. And that's where kind of getting back to your foundation comes in. My foundation has always been faith, even when I walked away from it because I felt unworthy or unforgivable. There was still faith underneath there. And, as it relates to that, every time I think of doing something else, I'm like, no, this is where the need is. I mean, this is kind of what I feel called to do. I don't necessarily even want to. It's almost like a must. Like when they say, probably the person who should be the president probably doesn't want to be the president. It's a little bit the same way of, if not me, then who? Nobody else out there is addressing this humanity part. Everything is just, man, like with the world, it's like you got inflation, you know, everything going on with food stamps, food insecurity, the government, health insurance, Obamacare. I mean, I'm gonna now have to worry about that too. How we get our health insurance or whether or not we go back to self-pay. Um, but yeah, there's a lot that we in this working age group, middle age group, 20s to probably 60s, there's so many concerns, daily concerns of life that, you know, a lot of us are going to jobs and interacting with people, um, kind of forgetting that there's people out there because they don't have that connection, they don't have that contact because they're not out in the workforce, because they're not out doing all the things they once did, because maybe they're on a fixed income, they can't go out and spend money like they used to. They can't go shopping like they used to. Maybe mobility prevents them from shopping, which is why I'm delivering their prescriptions and their groceries. Um, it's almost too bad as part of the Uber driving, we don't get to deliver and then spend a moment with them because there's always a next delivery to go to or one's waiting for you to pick up. Because, man, it's been busy enough to where I don't even know half the time how much I've made because I just keep going from order to order. I mean, for reference, uh, last Monday, I completed 11 trips, but was offered 30. That's how many I had to decline just to get home or call it quits at some point. But like, man, if I could take every which one of them, I would. But, you know, at some point too, it's like I gotta get home. I need to spend time with my wife, my family, as that's what I value. And then also, but I also value this. I value putting out a message, which is, I value people in the world. I value the world. Um, Maybe that's why I feel obligated to. I could have missed. I could have used an excuse. I could say I'm going on a break, all kinds of stuff. But I don't want to miss. This is as much for me as it is for you. That gentle reminder to always go back to what's driving you. Am I doing things for the right reason? Is what I'm doing, is it selfish or does it benefit others? That all depends on you. Everybody has their different motivations, you know, like Elon Musk. Just listen to his interview with Joe Rogan and, I mean, his interest is in exploring things greater, and he's been given the intellectual gifts to do so. Um, my life has always been about humans, from and the value of life in that way. We each have our place and our roles. Um, Mine is to focus on humanity and the human part of things in a world that's so transactional and um, I don't know, misaligned maybe. In that for a lot of people, everything's about money, notoriety, fame. For me, it's just about people. Are you a good person? Do you feel valued? Do you see your value? Do you understand how you fit into the world? What value you give to the world? Just by being you. And what being you means to those around you, even if you're unable to see it. I was here to point that out, to tell you that it's not about the money. It's not about the achievements. It's not about the degrees. I mean, all that stuff is important to a degree in part of your life and making the difference you want to make. But it's not everything. And as the world, we've placed such an immense value on things, accomplishments, achievements, like that your whole life is supposed to be, you know, he who ends up with the most toys, the biggest house, whatnot, wins the biggest bank account. Kind of like an Elon Musk versus maybe what he's contributed. Like when him and Joe Rogan were talking about him rescuing people from the space station that were stuck there. I mean, that's a pretty big deal. And they talked about how little coverage it got. And so, even in a world that has everything to offer and present, the news, mainstream media will still choose to focus on other things rather than some of these things that are um, about humanity. I mean, even when we think and or talk about war and the war, how often is it ever brought back to the value and loss of human life? As as the discussion lately always seems to be more centered around the military industrial complex and the money it generates and why they want to stay in wars because that keeps people employed, making weapons, weapons that are then used. And then also, us sitting back and watching, you know, I guess, oh, I got the hiccups. Watching how or studying how Russia fights Ukraine. Hmm. And of course, watching them deplete their arsenal. Trying to hold my breath here and get rid of these hiccups. But um, A lot of people don't look at it from that angle of like, hey, we're allowing them to deplete all their stuff and watching all their tactics in the meantime. Therefore, we don't have to do it, if that makes sense. Um, so, sorry, my hiccups are irritating, causing me to stir around. Mm. But as you would know, I guess, since 7 years old, I have noticed and or placed a high importance on life, humanity, human life, regardless of what color, race, nationality. One of the benefits I had of joining the Navy at such a young age was being exposed to other cultures and countries at a young age. And seeing how other parts of the world live and understanding how fortunate you are to have been born in the US. And so, between faith and my values, that's all led me here in attempting to get this business off the ground. That, oh, there we go again with the game. Let's get it shifted. Come on. Uh, there But yeah, nobody should die alone. It's quite the challenge to make everybody feel valued or, or show them their value, show them how they fit in. It's a big responsibility. And I have no idea how I'm going to do it. But I'm going to have a week to think about it. So we'll see if I get enough episodes recorded this week. If you guys don't know, I am going on a cruise next week. We're taking our daughter for her 12th birthday on a cruise. I am kind of excited, a little bit, and a little bit not excited because I don't think you do internet and phone and all that. So I'm I like to take vacations to relax, and I'm not a big activities person. And so it should be interesting. Might have to talk about that on Unfiltered Friday. But seeing as how these hiccups are being a pain in my ass, uh, more specifically the c- center of my chest, my diaphragm. this sounds like this will be a good place to end it. So, happy Monday. I hope it's the beginning of a good week. Oh, yeah, yeah, these hiccups. But, but, you know, I would say when you're questioning anything, when you have a decision to make, when you're wondering what's right or wrong, check your check your foundation. Faith is mine. It's where I always go back to. Sometimes it's not always the answer you want to hear, but it's about obedience. And I was so disobedient for so many years. No, God, I want to do it my way. I want to do what I want to do. And part of me feels like the reason I know this is the right thing to do is because I don't want to do it. It's like I do want to do it. My heart is for it. But I know it's going to take things. I'm going to have to dig from places that I haven't dug from before. And that's scary. Very scary. But, you know, after looking at everything this past week in the hospital and doing my thing, I do feel like it's the right thing to do to refocus on humanity. I have all the education and degrees that, you know, I could be focusing on that kind of stuff. But I don't feel that that's my purpose. We got people like Elon and a whole bunch of nerds that like that shit and want to do it. So let them. I'm about connection, compassion, love, humanity, which comes through forms of music, writing, poetry, and or podcasting. So I'm in, I'm in my realm doing what I want to do. And thank you guys for joining me along this journey. And we'll see what the guest situation is going to be as I continue to evolve the podcast. And I gotta be busy recording this week and uploading so you guys have some listen to while I'm gone on my cruise. Oh, but I'm gonna end this because these hiccups gotta be as annoying to you as they are to me. But at least you only have to listen to them. You don't have to deal with them. So, sorry about the hiccups. Hopefully you'll show me some grace. And on that note, had to wait for that hiccup. Go out and be the person that you want to meet.
Let go. Asteroid of fear.